So I'll ask you two then. Are any of the Republicans running for Senate going to take Ed Markey on something like the Second Amendment?
Well, I mean, look, I had Mike Sullivan on my show. He's smart. He's tough. The problem with Mike Sullivan is he's very solid on the issues, but I mean, with all due respect to the guy, I mean, Cooksey was even joking around, my executive producer. I almost fell asleep. I mean, the guy's talking on my own show. I mean, he's got it. No, his handlers have got to say, Mike, you got to put some more umph into it, baby. But if he's willing to stand up for the middle class, in other words, if he takes a page out of Scott Brown's playbook and says, I'm going to run against taxes, I'm going to run against runaway government spending, I'm going to run against debt, I'm going to run in defense of the Second Amendment, I think he can give Ed Markey a run for his money. I think Markey is weak. He's a machine politician. He's a phony. He's a carpetbagger. And if the Republicans were smart, I would just do one thing. If any Republican strategists are listening, go to Chevy Chase and take a picture of that mansion that Ed Markey lives in. You got to see this thing. I mean, Putin doesn't live in a place like this. I'm serious. And just put that all around Boston and Massachusetts and say, this is where your next senator really lives.
I have to make a disclosure. I actually have made a contribution to the Ed Markey campaign. I gave him a GPS system so he could find his district. But I just want to clarify something. Scott Brown did not, in his page of the paper, come out and talk about the Second Amendment.
I don't think any Republicans are going to take on Markey
they're not
on this.
They're not going to.
It's
By
too
the way,
hot.
they had a straw poll among the Republican club today, and Mike Sullivan, the grassroots candidate, came in third.
Who won?
Gabriel Gomez came in second, despite the fact that he has $1 bazillion, and when you have $1 bazillion, I used to run campaigns, you hire people to go and win the straw poll. Dan Winslow actually came in first,
well,
and
good
it wasn't
for him.
close, which
Good
is
for
a
him.
big
Winslow
surprise.
has a little energy.
Yeah.
But he's also, I think he's further to the left than the other. Well, I don't know about
But
Gomez.
that actually might help
let me ask you something.
in a
Did
general
Dan
election.
Winslow vote for Deval Patrick and Barack Obama? Because Gabriel Gomez did.
Yeah.
So I don't vote for people who vote for Barack Obama or excuse me, I'm sorry, he gave money to Obama. He claims he didn't vote for him. He just gave him money.
Joe and I were talking yesterday on High Noon about how we've got to make a FOIA request at the Herald for the letter that Gomez wrote asking Deval Patrick to appoint him to the Senate. And then we've also got to try to find
everybody else's letter.
I'd love to. I would love to.
That would be fantastic.
Your letter's not going to be there, Howie. I don't think. Is it?
No,
Your
I
letter.
Look, first of all, there is no Republican Party in Massachusetts as far as a party goes. There are some conservative people, there are people with ideas, but there's a party. I mean, the entire Republican Party could meet at a booth at the Miss Worcester Diner, and there'd still be room for the waitress to sit down and take your order. But so they don't exist. But as much as they do exist, this little cabal of people, they've picked Gabriel Gomez as the ideal Republican to run because he gave money to Obama, he gave money to super lefty Alan Casey, he was giving money to Democrats as recently as last year. He ran for Cohasset Town Selectman and came in third in a field of 3. So he gives money to Democrats, and he's a loser. He's the ideal Republican for the state Republican Party.
But let me tell you, Michael, the reason that he has so much support and a lot of Romney people are backing him, there's only one reason, is because the guy has money and they want to get paid. That's all. They don't care. They don't care if he wins. They just want to get paid.
And that's what this guy is. He's the cash cow in the race.
Right.
And then Michael Sullivan is absolutely more conservative, but he hasn't run a campaign since, seriously, Bob Dole was on the ticket, the last guy.
Although he's the only guy in the race who's won a county-wide campaign.
Right. That is true. But it was, once again, it was 1996.
A long time ago. No, I know. And I think Dan Winslow, you're right, Howie, has a lot of energy.
But he's also socially liberal. So
he's socially liberal, which is going to be a good thing in a general election. If you run against Ed Markey, you've got a guy basically who is more socially liberal than Ed Markey was, at least back in the 1980s.
I guess it's been left to me to be the controversial person, and I'm not saying this upset anybody, and I would like to hear what you guys think of this. Joe just said, you got to get somebody who's socially moderate so that you have a chance to win. Was anyone more socially moderate than Scott Brown? Scott Brown's campaign came down to 2 concepts. I'm going to grow a set of ovaries live on national television, and I hate Republicans too.
That's not why he lost, though. That's not why he lost.
No, this is my point. You can't be more socially moderate than Scott Brown. Scott
Well,
Brown
that
was
a
in
different
essence a
situation.
Democrat.
He was running against
And it-
Elizabeth Warren in a
Elizabeth
presidential year.
Warren is a terrible candidate, an
Oh.
awful candidate, an off-putting candidate who did a crummy job and lied about basic things like her family's background, how she got jobs. You couldn't have a crappier candidate than Liz. I'm a woman of the people, but I own a $740,000 condo, Warren. She was terrible. Scott Brown was super liberal, and he lost. Why? Because no Republican can win in Massachusetts, period.